Hello and welcome to Thoughts in the Green Room with your host, Geoff Mays. In this week's episode, we are going to talk about having pride for your own work. Now, when I think about the finished product, something that you as an audience are going to go see at the movie theater, something that you'll watch on TV and talk about with your friends, your family, something that you may go to see in a live theater, there are two kinds of final product: a successful or an unsuccessful product. Now, success or lack of success is determined by two key factors. The first factor is audience acclaim, public acclaim. The second factor is critical acclaim, or the lack thereof. Now, these two things don't correlate. Sometimes a show can be successful because the audience loves it, but the critics hate it. And sometimes a show can be successful because the critics love it, but the audience hates it. But in general, when I say people, I'm talking about the people on the end of the revenue stream, the people who have put out the product and want a monetary return from it, or an ongoing level of fame from it, an ongoing level of recognition from it. When they're assessing, all they care about in the end is whether or not they've generated enough income to retain a profit, or they've generated enough personal clout to carry on for their next project so they can do what they want to keep doing. Doesn't matter if it's successful or unsuccessful by the standards I've already outlined. What matters to the individual, the artist, the person producing the piece of work that you've just watched, is whether or not it's generated enough positive response that they've got a positive return from it, whether that be clout or whether that be money. Now, all of this becomes a little bit, I don't want to say redundant, because I think a better approach to what I'm saying here is that the show's success, or lack thereof, comes from all the people involved in it. When we're talking about movies and theater and stage, screen, we're talking about producers, the people with money. We're talking about the backstage crew, the people who do the lighting, the cameras, the sound. We're talking about the artists on stage, directors, assistant directors, costumers. All the people come together to make this finished product. And when I speak to other actors, other artists, I hear one of two responses. Come, see my show. I'm excited about it. I've done a great job. My friends have done it. It's an awesome show. You have to see this. Or I hear, I didn't say anything about it because it sucks. The second response is the one that always catches me off guard. What does somebody mean when they say, I didn't mention it because the show sucked, or I didn't want you to see it because it sucked? I've asked a lot of actors, and I've heard myself say this statement in the past. And in speaking to others, as well as reflecting on my own thoughts, this idea that a show sucks means that the finished product is something that, from the artist's eyes, is not palatable to everybody else. It's an embarrassing show because it's not as tightly knit as it could be. The dance numbers are off, or the chemistry between the leads really isn't there, and it feels kind of flat. I can think of all sorts of reasons. And the artists involved with creating that are making a big judgment on the whole product. This is something, as I said, I used to say myself, you don't want to see me in this one. Wait for something else. But I've been thinking about that over the years. And my mindset has changed considerably, and I want to share this perspective with you. That no matter what your personal judgment is on a show, on a finished piece of art that you've been a part of, you should be promoting that to the high heavens, screaming it from mountaintops. Not necessarily because of your perception of what the show is, but because of your work in the show. The show may be a flop in everybody's eyes. Critics may hate it. Audience members may hate it. Your friends and family who always say you do good and things and it's wonderful may hate it. But what they should love is your work within the show. This idea that no matter how bad something is around me is irrelevant to the amount of work that I put in and how much effort and willingness and, if you will, pride I'm willing to say I did that. So this show may stink, but I'm amazing in it. And every single show, every single piece of work that an individual does, in my personal opinion, should equal come and see it because I'm amazing in it. This is my best work yet. Now, this idea of best work yet doesn't just come from some grandiose statement and egotism. What we're talking about is growing continually as an artist. Every single time that you sit down with a script, a piece of paper to draw, a blank page to write on, what you're about to do should have growth, should be better than the last thing, to show that you are growing, to show that you are evolving. Because if you're not evolving with every piece that you do, you are becoming static. And as an artist, you are becoming irrelevant. Which means when you're finished, that piece, whether it be a painting or a writing or a stage show or a film or a piece of music or street art, whatever it is, you should be excited, in my own opinion. You should be excited to share that with the world and say, come see what I've done, because it's more than what you've seen of me before. I recently saw a show by the talented Jada Rifkin. She was on one of my earlier episodes. You can go back and take a look at them if you'd like. But Jada had done this show, which I think is a wonderful, wonderful piece. What made this piece so wonderful, above and beyond everything else within the show, is one, it was the first time she'd ever done a one-woman show. And two, it was the only time that I personally have ever seen her be as vulnerable as she was on that stage. This isn't to say that she hasn't been vulnerable before, but from my experience as an audience member watching her, she had never been that vulnerable before. So it was so very, very clear to me in that moment that this artist, who I know very well, had grown, and the show was a success because the artist was moving to the next level. This is the outcome that I believe every artist should have from every piece of work. And if that is the case, and you are growing, I believe that there should be pride in your growth. Pride to say, I am getting better, or I am exploring in a way that I haven't explored before, and I want to share it with you, my audience. Because if we're not sharing our art with the audience and we're calling ourselves artists, then are we truly artists without the sharing? And that's a philosophical debate, I'm sure, for another time. But in a nutshell, I believe everybody can be an artist, but to be a recognized or qualified, quote unquote, on the word qualified artist, that needs to be seen by the public. Again, a topic for another time. Now, this is another topic which I believe is universal. I've been speaking about artists and sharing their work and growing each and every time. But I've also been talking to my friends who aren't artists, who are in business sector, who are in the public sector. And I have heard them say the same thing about work that they've done, a team they've been on, in a project they've got a hand in, like, oh my God, I can't believe I got that project finally done. I'm like, that doesn't sound good. Oh, it's horrible. It's the worst thing we've ever done. I can't believe I put my name on it. And various versions of that. And I come back to the same point. Yes, the final project may not be the prettiest in your personal self-judgment. It may not be the masterpiece you expected it to be. But the question is, did the work you put in equal a step up from the last piece of work that you had to do? And if the answer to that is yes, it is a step up, I have bettered myself and I have grown, then I believe there should be a level of pride in what it is you've done. So yeah, come see this show. I think it sucks, but man, are you ever gonna be blown away by what I am doing in that show. And if you've got that attitude and you've got that belief in yourself, it's not only gonna help you grow as an artist, but it's gonna show to the people who are watching you. So when we bring this around full circle and we talk about that critical success, that monetary success, the most important thing at least for me in this time in my life, is moving my career forward so I can do bigger and better projects and push myself further to achieve everything I'm talking about right now, then if I'm always excited about what I'm doing, then those people who give you that step up, who say, wow, that's a person I need in my show, or that's a person I need to do my painting for my next art display, or whatever it is, then that person who's in the audience is going to be the one who goes, wow, look at the work that this person is doing, and I want them. And that's what's going to move you to the next step in your growth or your opportunity to grow, because you've got a new project that's going to push you forward. With that said, I challenge you to start meditating, reflecting, and actively, if you're in a project right now or about to start a project, take a look at your perception and the way that you present when it comes down to the finished piece. Take a look at the way you think about your work and what you're doing, so that when this next project that you're working on is done, you can say, come see what I'm doing. Oh yeah, the show I'm in is pretty awesome too, but come see what I'm doing, because I'm growing. And those are your thoughts from the Green Room with your host, Geoff Mays. I will see you in one